Hello everybody, it's me GhostCritic and we're here for another retro comic rewind. If this is your first time here for a Thursday, what we do here is I ask you guys for some help on what to review out of my long boxes that are scattered all around my house. Basically all I ask you to do is watch this video, make a little bit of a comment about it in the comment box below, and then choose a letter between A to Z, not the letter Q. I don't own any comics beginning with Q. And then when I pick someone out at random, I ask them to pick a number between 1 and the number of comics I have of that letter. I'll dig that comic book out of my long box and I'll do a little bit of review and like an overview of the title in general. Last week I picked, or rather he was the only one that left me a letter last week. It was Custom Bromstar, the great Scott. Thank you very much for helping me out there, buddy. And he picked the letter R. As you can see, I am looking at Rising Stars issue 23, which was actually the penultimate issue of this series. It originally came out under the Top Cow label, which was kind of like a subsidiary of Image Comics, and then towards the end of the series went to Joe's Comics, which was kind of a creator-owned imprint run by Straczynski, who wrote this book, and in fact Rising Star was one of the first titles that went on the Joe's Comic imprint. It began back in August 1999 and it dealt with a group of people called the Specials. These were super powered humans who had gained their powers in utero when a seemingly blazing comet went over a town and imbued them with these powers. And the story is narrated by the last living Special. So already you kind of realise that things by the end of the whole series aren't going to look too bright for our Specials. But it is narrated by a guy called Poet, who is one of the Specials. It ran very much like a kind of standard superhero book. It dealt with the human population dealing with superheroes for the first time. We're living in a world here where there are no superheroes. These are our first, we're subjected to these first. So of course there's a kind of modicum of distrust for them. But the story then progresses that Specials are being murdered and killed, and we don't know who. Of course there are good Specials and there are bad Specials, so it keeps with the heroes and villains superhero trope. There's a part where the baddies try and take over Chicago, make it their own kind of headquarters, so to speak. And then it kind of stopped. The title did have a lot of trouble with solicitations. Sometimes you wouldn't see it for 2 or 3 months at a time. And then by, I think it was issue maybe 21 or 22, it just stopped. And we thought, it's one of those titles you are never going to see the end of. Apparently, from what I've read, there was some contention between Straczynski and the Top Cow label. There was apparently going to be a Rising Star movie, and kind of Top Cow had kept Straczynski out of the loop on this, and he clearly wasn't very happy about this. But eventually it did come back, and it then addressed one of the kind of ideas of superheroes, and we just talked about this on Tuesday when I was talking about Captain America and real life world problems. But this was done much more cleverly and much more realistically, I felt, because it addressed the fact that you are in a world where we have superheroes, they can do amazing things. Why do they not solve the problems of the world? And the specials, they do. They address famine and hunger in the world. They eradicate nuclear weapons from the planet. And everything looks great. It's a new utopian age. We even have one of the specials rising to be president of the USA. Of course, there is, you know, the government behind the government, the kind of dark cabal that's really running everything, and they are clearly not happy about how much power the specials now have over America particularly. So they plot to kill them all, and this is what issue 23 is basically about. We see the culmination of all their plans and how they are going to destroy the specials. The specials are going to a huge gala put on in their honour for all the great stuff they've done for the world. And you can see from the cover there's going to be a big explosion. And it's not until the next issue, the last issue, that you find out who dies, who lives, what happens after that. And I just, Straczynski very cleverly at the very last issue tied up the beginning with the supposed comet going over this town and imbuing these babies in utero with the powers, to the very final issue. I just thought it was very, very cleverly done. I really did enjoy this. I held out for the next title, even despite having to wait months at a time for the next one. Art style, it did change a great deal from kind of like story arc to story arc till what we have now is, I think the best way to describe the artwork in here is if you're reading kind of the Dynamite imprint comics, those pulpy ones, it definitely has that kind of feel and artistic showing. I really liked it. I'm sure I've seen this in trade, so give it a try if you fancy a little bit of what you've heard. And that's really A Rising Stars, great early title from the late 1990s to the beginning of the new millennium. Thank you for watching. Until next week, don't forget to leave a comment in the box below and give me a letter so I've got one of these to do next week. Take care. Thank you very much, Scott, for picking a letter, and you got this reviewed. Bye bye.